Also, would you look at that? We have Mizuki on the main screen now. How cool is that? Let's go. Right. I started to walk back towards downtown. My pace was brisk in an attempt to ward off my companion.
もしかして先輩、怒ってます？
I get told that all the time.
それは答えになってませんよ。
I didn't intend to speak to you at all. No point beating around the bush.
ごめんなさい。
I clicked my tongue and stopped. It was almost time for my shift, so there was no time for this. When did you start following me?
と
Yuko looked apologetic.
校門のところで先輩を見かけて、
Hey, Beatrice.
女の人と一緒だったから声をかけられなくて。
But you could follow me.
ごめんなさい。どうしても気になって。
I clicked my tongue again. Yuko was remorseful to the point where any additional cheating would have been bullying. Okay, forget about that. I don't care anymore. But remember what I said? Stay away from me.
でも
The gloom on her face was replaced by a hint of anger.
だからといって先輩の言う通りにしなきゃいけない理由はありません。
Stop talking.
言いますよ。
Her anger was suddenly replaced by a smile. It was a gentle smile, one that made the previous expression hard to believe.
私は本当に嬉しかったんです。
Oh, she's so cute. I love just like looking at her. Happy? About what?
決まってるじゃないですか。あなたにまた会えたことです。
The individual footsteps of the people walking around us were distinct. Each one had a unique sound, or rather, a unique rhythm.
本当は入学してすぐにあなたがいることには気づいてたんです。入試で首席を取って以来、一度も人にトップを譲ったことのない秀才、日村優。音羽では誰もがあなたのことを知っています。あなたを知らずにはいられない。もちろん私も。
If you knew, why didn't you see me during the first week of school? She should have done that instead of being fancy with the paper airplane.
私とあなたが離れていた時間が長すぎたからでしょうか。
I thought about it for a moment. The number of adopted children who would come back and visit the orphanage was non-existent. They probably felt they had abandoned those who were not so lucky. Yuko probably felt the same way.
でも私はこうしてあなたと向き合えるようになった。それが嬉しいんです。
Hey Clinton, how is you today? Yuko approached me, hardly making a sound.
先輩が私を近づけたくないのは
She grasped my hand with both of hers.
まだ茜さんのことを私に似ているっていうあなたの妹さん。
Her whispering made me do a double take. How did you know about her?
施設に引き取られた子供はみんな泣くか黙り込むかそのどちらかでしたけど、
Ooh, problem solving,
あ
yes.
なたは違いました。
I hope things went alright. I hope at least some of the problems are solved now. And you can, I don't know, rest easy a little bit.
独り言みたいにして私にいろんな話をしてくれましたよ。忘れたんですか？
Must have been grumbling. That was all I could muster. Akane, I don't remember mentioning her to anyone. Whoever I told it to, it certainly wasn't you.
いいえ、私は知ってました。知っていましたよ。あなたは生きる力が強いって。どんな困難にあってもすぐに立ち上がれる強い力です。
So that was why Yuko looked up to me.
あの震災の後、 あなたは誰よりも早く現実を受け入れてました。施設のみんなはいなくなった家族がひょっこり戻ってくるんじゃないかって、そんな期待すらしてたのに、あなただけは。私はそんなあなたに力を感じていたんです。すごいって心の底から思っていたんですよ。
Strength. Give me a break. I slowly pulled my hands away from hers. You're thinking too much. There was nothing else to be said. I looked down at my watch. My shift was about to start. I couldn't afford to waste any more time. I turned my back to her.
日村先輩、あなたは強いはずです。
She said it again.
だから赤い時計の夢なんて忘れてしまえばいいんですよ。
A red watch? My sister's happy voice. The warmth of her hands in mine. Yuko was right. I was still held captive by an old dream. Work was a disaster. I broke 2 dishes and messed up 3 orders. The manager simply laughed it off, but I was fuming. Thinking about it distracted me from my studying. Have to do the minimum at the very least, but my hands wouldn't listen. I set my mechanical pencil aside and lay down. The low ceiling in the small apartment dominated my field of vision. An old man by the name of Shindo-san was the landlord of this apartment. Seeing as how I was a student, he gave me a reduced rate. His clemency, along with the manager at work, were what kept me going. There's a connection. Though my goal was to be independent, the reality was that I had to rely on opportunities given to me by others. I sighed. Then I stared at the sketchbook that Nagi gave me. It was slightly smaller than standard letter size. I picked up my mechanical pencil and opened the front cover. Then I closed my eyes. A backdrop formed in my head. Memories were tapped to fill in the details. It didn't take long for me to imagine the final image. I opened my eyes and started to draw. There was hardly any moment where I had to pause and think about where to draw next. Balance and perspective didn't matter. The image was to be completed before it went away. I remembered more than I thought. The drawing was a one-story building with the quality that only a mother could love. It was the house I used to live in. Why was I doing this? I decided long ago that I would never think about the past. A red watch. I closed the sketchbook and stood up. The back of one of my drawers contained important items such as my bank book and family seal. It also contained a white cloth covering another object. I carefully opened the cloth. A charred object presented itself.
お兄ちゃん。
Something caused me to freeze for an instant, but I quickly shook my head. It had to have been my imagination. I wrapped up the watch and placed it back in the drawer. Then I turned off the lights. I didn't want to see anything. I didn't want to hear anything. I just wanted to forget everything.
お兄ちゃん。
It wasn't going to happen. My sister, Akane, wouldn't allow it. The nearby church was ringing its bell. Hey, Kevin! How are you? Thank you for dropping by today as well. I remembered it clearly. It was loud enough to hurt my ears. All of it happened on Christmas. Our parents weren't particularly bad folk, but they didn't earn much money. Any child would have perceived them as unreliable.
お家は暗くて狭くて暑くて、でも茜は寒いのが一番辛かったよ。
Our parents kept worrying all the time. I had to keep smiling for Akane in order to give her hope.
お兄ちゃんは優しかったよ。
Akane was younger than me, but she understood our situation. I couldn't remember her ever being selfish and wanting more.
だって茜はお兄ちゃんを困らせたくなかったから。
Oh, Kevin. Yeah, I know, Clinton. I guess we just gotta give him a bit of suspension of disbelief and just ride it through. It's not a happy story, unfortunately. I am alright. I'm a little bit tired from work, and unfortunately I will be until next week when things finally end in this chapter of what I'm doing, and then hopefully I can move on to something else. But yeah. Yeah. It's okay. I'm trying to relax now and then go to sleep. Tomorrow's a new day where we face the windmills again. Windmills being a metaphor. There was only one thing she wanted. A cheap wristwatch sold at the neighborhood toy store. There was some ugly cartoon picture on the face, but the color of the strap was a vivid red, befitting of her name. My sister was usually satisfied with staring at all of the toys, but that time she kept staring at the watch. What? What is that name? Yeah, no, it's about Don Quixote. You know, that he was fighting windmills, which is supposed to be a metaphor for the futility of existence or something. I didn't want to take it that far, but you know. Sometimes you are fighting battles that don't even make sense for you, that you have to fight them, but you gotta do it anyway. It's fine. It will work out in the end.
本当に真っ赤で綺麗だったのも。
I was into drawing, so my allowance and money I earned from helping neighbors was being saved in order to purchase a pencil set. It was a tough decision. After hesitating for a long time, I used the money for the watch.
ごめんね、お兄ちゃん。
It's not even an expensive watch. Sounds like plumbing issues pale in comparison. No, it's just yeah. I fight windmills, but that is because I'm Dutch. Oh no, no. Guys, oh, I'm so sorry about your infection, Kevin. Get well soon. Also, I'm sorry for plumbing issues, Clinton. It must not be fun. I've had them in the past too. They're pain in the neck. It's just I just feel that I put a lot of effort in today at work, but nothing much really came of it. So it's just a feeling that I was left with, and also the client is behaving just like all clients do, and I feel not really understood in the difficulty and the effort that I have to put into things. But at the very least, my team is on my side. My PM is amazing, so she's taking care of like communicating and negotiating things over. So I can only hope that it will work out one way or another. At the very minimum as well, I know that if I'm allowed to do the things I know how to do, things will turn out well. I just need to be allowed. So that's it. Oh no, Kevin, that doesn't sound good at all. What are the minions? No. What do you mean, money came from it? From a plumbing issue? Sorry, my brain is not computing that much. All of the minutes are everywhere. Oh, Kevin, I'm sorry. Money came from my effort. I guess. I earned a day's salary. Woohoo! Christmas was approaching. Akane had never received a Christmas present or even indulged in any festive meals. I wanted to make her happy. I wanted to see her smile.
お兄ちゃんから時計をもらった時は本当に嬉しかったよ。一番大好きなお兄ちゃんがクリスマスに一番欲しいものをくれたんだもん。
Man, her voice is so cute, but that echo is so creepy. I understand why they went for it, because, yeah, it makes sense. It's just... Man, it's creepy. It's making a kid creepy. That's odd. Yes, it's true. I didn't mean nothing in the complete general sense. It's just I put in a lot of effort, but then I don't know if that actually helped solve the problem that we were facing. That's all. It's probable that when I go back to work tomorrow, it's still there, and then we have to take another approach. That's all. It's alright, I'm not necessarily complaining, it's just I'm tired, so I need to recharge, and tomorrow I'll be fine. It will be fine. Yes, it is a programming issue. So, one of them is a programming issue, the other is a communication and understanding issue with the client. And possibly upper management on whose behalf the client is talking. Yeah, it's alright. One way or another, things are gonna be solved. This is one of the things that I learned from one of my former colleagues and supervisor. It's just... enough is enough. 8 hours is just enough fighting with windmills for one day. When the time comes that your schedule is over, you just close the laptop and you go do something else, and then tomorrow is another day to do it. It's okay. It's fine. Yes. So, being here with you guys is one of my ways of chilling and recharging, and it'll be alright. She was so overjoyed that she went to sleep with the watch nearby. Then she surprised me by slipping into my bed, saying she wanted to sleep with me. Even though I was embarrassed, Akane and I held hands and we fell asleep together. We thought that was happiness. I'm pretty sure it was happiness. Both of us believed that.
でも、お兄ちゃんは
During the middle of the night, I had to go to the bathroom. I looked at Akane's angelic expression for a while, then slipped out of bed in a discreet manner. She was holding onto my hand tightly. I remembered trying very hard to let go without waking her.
お兄ちゃんは茜の手を離したんだよね。
He just went to pee. It happened while I was washing my hands after using the toilet. It was sudden. There wasn't any kind of notice.
大きな、とっても大きな地震。
The sky and the earth felt like they were switching places. Then something cracked and fell on me. Sorry. I lost consciousness at the moment of impact. Even now, I don't know how long I was out. When I came to, what I understood was that something horrific was occurring.
茜はずっとお兄ちゃんを呼んでた。
I heard that too. I started calling out to Akane.
お兄ちゃん！お兄ちゃん！どこ行ったの？
I called out to her many times. However, something heavy was spinning me, causing my voice to project poorly.
お兄ちゃん！怖いよ！
I needed to get to her as soon as I could. With that being the only thing in my mind, I pushed against the thing holding me down.
怖かった。何も見えなくて、お兄ちゃんがいなくて、怖かったんだよ。
When I finally freed myself, what I saw was a nightmare. An inferno was raging out of control. It was a cold night, so our parents must have left the heater running. I couldn't see anything in the sea of flames, but Akane was beyond it. My sister was calling out to me, but I couldn't move forward. No, that's wrong. I was too scared to move forward. The smoke was intensifying. The fire grew taller. Death was at the doorstep. My body couldn't stop shaking. I was so scared of dying.
茜を置いて逃げ出したんだよね。
It was delirium. I moved something out of the way, then moved to where there was less smoke. The thought of fleeing conquered everything else. The only home we ever knew was on the verge of collapsing. I heard her crying voice. Yet I still ran away. The instant I cleared the front door. My sister's voice cut out after the final thunderous roar from inside. Then the nearby church began to ring its bell. It was morning, Akane. I desperately ran through the neighborhood looking for any help, but everyone was occupied with themselves. There wasn't anyone who would listen to me.
ねえ、お兄ちゃん。茜はね、あのクリスマスは本当に幸せだったんだよ。
That doesn't comfort me at all. Akane lost her life that day. She would have lived much longer and attained happiness. I only wanted to make her happy.
それはどうかな。
What?
もしも茜があの時助かってても幸せになれたとは思えないんだよ。
Akane was wise beyond her years. She probably knew that the chances of coming out of the working class were poor. However, it could have happened. If you were alive, if you were still alive.
思うんだけど、茜は死んでもよかったんだって。
No, that's absolutely wrong. You were so smart, so honest, and more gentle than anyone I knew. Your life was just beginning. You would have been a success.
茜はね、そんなこと望んでなかったよ。 It
wasn't? Then what was it you wished for?
茜は大好きなお兄ちゃんと一緒に死んじゃいたかった。
Beyond the darkness, Akane appeared to be smiling. That was the feeling I had. Right, part 4, ceaseless feelings. And that is why when you have trauma like that, you go to a therapist. So they can tell you and help you understand that all of those thoughts are just survivor's guilt and you blaming yourself for something that you couldn't have helped. Because, objectively speaking, he was just a kid. He couldn't have gone into a flaming, burning house, or like further inside that flaming house. He couldn't have moved stuff out of the way. He couldn't have saved his sister. And objectively, if just a few moments after he got out of the door, the building collapsed, it would have collapsed on him, even if he had been able to get to her. So, it's not his fault. He couldn't have done anything there, but yet he's tormenting himself. Yes. And that is something difficult to grasp for someone in the situation. I can only imagine, because just like we saw here, like the voices from within are still going to blame you. Because of course, on an emotional level, you hear someone very precious and dear to you scream out like that, and you are running in the opposite direction and you're not helping them. Of course, that's going to breed guilt inside. It's not logical, but it is what happens. And yeah, you need someone from the outside to walk you through that and help you understand. Not in a very easy process, mind you. I'm sure that's a thing that takes forever, and I don't think people fully can heal from an experience like that. But at least they need to hear that it wasn't their fault, and it's not cowardly to flee in that situation, and it's justified. Yeah, I've never felt it in myself either, but my imagination can go quite far in that extent, which I can only take it as a sign that the actual feeling that you experience when you go through that can be so many orders of magnitude worse. So I only shudder at the thought of it, of just the attempt of imagining it. Yeah. Well, let's see. My vision was blurred. As it slowly came into focus, all I saw was the same old classroom. Just the classroom. Classroom? My body shot up.
お、起きたな、日村。
Kuze? Shuichi, who seemed to be in an excessively good mood, slapped my shoulder.
旅立つ前に日村の寝顔を見られて、俺はもう満足だよ。
Does he include a reference to him going away in absolutely every sentence that he says? Because it kind of feels like that. Ah, good. Why don't you leave now on a high note? Oh, good one, you. Though my head was clouded, I came up with a response. How could this have happened? Fourth period was already over, so it was lunchtime. Kuze, you saw me fall asleep.
当たり前じゃないか。隣に座ってて気づかない方がどうかしてる。
So why didn't you wake me? Most students would admit to falling asleep during class on occasion, but I couldn't afford that luxury. Everything was riding on my scholarship. I had to avoid doing anything that would put it in jeopardy.
おお、先生なら大喜びしてたよ。何にしても貴重なものが見られるのは気分がいいとか言って。
What is wrong with this school? If the teacher didn't get angry, there was no sense in pressing the matter. However, I wouldn't ever allow this negligence again.
けどさ、お前が居眠りなんて。なんだ、ゆうべ寝かしてもらえなかったのか？
I'm nothing like you. You treat women as objects.
そういえば昨日ナギと会うとか言ってたけど。まさか！
A shoe struck Shuichi square in the face. The sound of the impact pleased my ears.
なんてことするんだ。
Nagi approached him as he was putting on his pouty face.
君こそなんてことを言うんだ。
She glared at him with her sharp eyes.
僕たちのことを君に詮索される筋合いはない。
Don't give him the wrong impression. I wanted to avoid a misunderstanding based on how she said the word us.
お前、盗み聞きしてたんだろう。よくない趣味だな。
バカを言うな。君の声が大きいから嫌でも聞こえてきたんだ。
ああ言えばこう言うな。本当に可愛げのない。
You were expecting some from her?
君ら、 か弱い女の子を寄ってたかっていじめて楽しいか？
か弱いって。
Shuichi attempted to continue, but in the end, he silently returned Nagi's shoe. He knew when to lick his wounds and give up.
さてと、俺は昼飯を食う約束があるから。
女だな。
Definitely.
大和なでしこと食事を共にできるのもあとちょっとだからね。今のうちに楽しんでおかないと。
Shuichi winked. Knowing him, he would switch his allegiance to German women once he spent some time in Germany.
そういえば、ユウも彼女ができたみたいだぞ。
What are you talking about? Shuichi and I responded almost simultaneously to her casual bombshell of a statement.
確か、ユコとか言ったか？
Not Yuko, Yuko. Is it that complicated? Just lengthen the first syllable.
ああ、そうそう、ユウコ。なかなか可愛らしかったな。1年生か、あの子は。
待て待て。1年の優子って、もしかして美術の雨宮の妹さんのことか？
I don't want to know how you knew that.
そうか。雨宮先生の妹だったのか。
たとえ学年が違っていても、あんな可愛い子に俺がチェックを入れてないはずないだろう。
And you're proud of that.
じゃ、行こうか。
Go where?
優子ちゃんの顔を見に行くに決まってるじゃないか。
Uh-huh. What happened to his eating lunch plans?
いや、正確に言うと、優子ちゃんと一緒にいる日村の顔を見てみたい。
正直すぎるな、クゼは。
そういうところがいいと言ってくれる女の子はたくさんいるぞ。
陰口を叩くみたいで気が引けるが、その子たちは少し人を見る目を養った方がいいと思う。
Will you two just shut up already? I didn't care if Shuichi was with me. I would rather never see her again. If only she were out of my life. Out of my life.
日村、なんか汗かいてるぞ。
What? I'm fine.
あ、
What? Nagi was staring at me. It was unusual to see her like this.
そういえば、雨宮先生がユウを呼んでた。美術室に来てくれって。
When should I meet him?
今日の昼休み。
But that's right now.
そのようだな。
You got me. No matter how much I wanted to avoid him, I wasn't foolish enough to disobey a direct request from a teacher. I sighed and hurried out of the classroom. Just in case, I lightly knocked on the door before opening it. I'm just gonna say Mr. Amamiya here. I don't want to call him Amamiya Sensei, I don't like him. He stood at the window, smoking a cigarette while basking in the faint breeze. I never knew he was a smoker. Sir?
Ah,
Oh, Mr. Amamiya turned to face me after I addressed him once more. For some reason, I couldn't get an accurate reading of him by looking at his face.
ごめん気づかなかった。実はここ2日ほど寝不足でね。注意力散漫になってるらしい。
I see. The nightmare last night caused me to sleep in class, but I wasn't about to show him any signs of weakness. I straightened my back and approached Mr. Amamiya.
悪いけど、これ最後まで吸わせてもらっていいかな。まだ火をつけたばかりなんだよ。
I don't mind. Mr. Amamiya smiled, then blew out the smoke at the ceiling.
職員室は禁煙だし、校内はあまり吸えるところがないんだよね。
Well, why aren't you there?
正直、授業以外でここに近づきたくないんだけど、ゆっくりタバコを吸える場所が他になくてさ。
You don't like coming here?
うん。ここは絵の具臭くていけない。
Oh, what an unusual answer. You don't like the smell of paint? I couldn't imagine an art teacher hating something he was exposed to on a daily basis.
ああ、大嫌いだね。
That's weird.
いや、絵の具の匂いに包まれてるとね、どうしても思い出してしまうから。
What would that be? Mr. Mamiya threw his cigarette into a nearby garbage bin. Already? He's already done with it? I heard a fizzle, so it must have not been completely spent.
本気で画家になろうとしていた自分をかな。
He didn't seem to show an ounce of regret. I decided not to press further.
そうだ。休み時間にわざわざ悪かったね。お昼はもう食べたのかな？
No, I never do.
君くらいの年ならちゃんと3食取った方がいいと思うけどね。ま、余計なお世話か。
Whatever you say.
日村くんは相変わらず面白いな。職員室でも評判だよ。何をやらせてもずば抜けてるけど、性格で損をしてるんじゃないかって。アンバランスなところが面白いのにな。教師といっても君の価値がわからない人ばかりだね。
I'm flattered, but you won't convince me to join the art club. It was doubtful that he was actually complimenting me, but I had to make my position clear.
今日はそういう話じゃないよ。警戒しなくてもいい。
He was clearly amused. Then what was it you wanted me for?
決まってる。優子のことだよ。
Figures?
うちに引き取られる前に優子が施設にいたのは知ってたけど、君もそこにいたんだって？
Yes.
なるほどね。優子が君に妙に懐いているのが不思議だったんだ。いわゆる幼馴染ってやつかな。いいね。幼い頃の甘酸っぱい思い出。セピア色の少年時代か。何回くらい優子と一緒に風呂に入ったの？
I never did. What the fuck kind of question is that?
え？じゃあ、結婚の約束は？
My life wasn't some bishosho game. This guy had a very narrow view of what childhood friends were meant to be. Pardon my outburst, but we were never that close.
そうなの？
I nodded. She left the orphanage soon after.
そういえばそうだったね。日村くんは優子をどう思ってる？
Nothing in particular. After a couple of automatic responses, I realized that Mr. Mamiya's interrogation wasn't significant. He wasn't asking me as a teacher, but as a family member of Yuko.
そうか。
We weren't always together either. I don't know how anyone could come to the conclusion that we were close. My talking sped up. The truth was that Yuko had more than just a small influence on me. She was the person who reminded me of that nightmare. The nightmare I never wanted to relive again.
日村くん、
Yes. Mr. Amamiya lit another cigarette.
優子の家のことは知ってる？いや、うちのことじゃなくて。
Like, he just threw away the previous cigarette without finishing it, and now he's starting another one. It's a little bit odd. He was referring to Yuko's original family. No, not really. Maybe I heard something long ago, but it wasn't significant enough to be worth mentioning.
優子にはね、父親がいないんだ。
So he died.
いや、優子の母親は妊娠した時に相手が誰なのか一切話さなかったらしいんだ。もしかしたら本人にもわからなかったのかもしれないね。
I don't see the point in telling me this. Yuko never had a father, but what was I supposed to do about it? I had both my parents, so I couldn't understand.
優子は一人っ子だったし、母親は毎日朝から夜遅くまで仕事漬けだった。よく知らないけど、コンクリートか何かの研究者だったかな。その母親も震災で亡くなってしまった。研究室で倒れてきた棚の下敷きになったそうだよ。
Oh.
そう。優子の母親はあの地震の時家にいなかった。優子は一人で母親の帰りを待っていたんだ。それはいつものことだったけど。まだ小さかった優子が燃え上がるアパートから一人で逃げ出せたのは奇跡としか言いようがない。
Oh, so her burns were from that? That would explain her unusual attire for this season.
優子がそう言ったの？
She didn't specifically say that.
へえ。
Mr. Amamiya seemed to feel good about my response. Yuko must have not told many people about her burns at all.
まあいろいろあってうちが優子を引き取ることになったんだけど、うちの父親は優子を引き取ってすぐに海外に単身赴任になっちゃったし、母親は少し足腰が悪くてね、ほとんど寝たきりなんだ。
Why was he telling me this?
優子は生まれてからずっと家族に構ってもらったことがないんだよ。
You could have done something about it?
いや、
He looked regretful.
優子を引き取った年に教師になったからね。忙しくて、とてもじゃないけどあの子の面倒を見てる暇はなかった。
He exhaled, letting out a puff of smoke.
優子は今まで誰にも甘えたことがない。
You aren't asking me to be that person, are you?
そこまでは言わないよ。
He smiled and shook his head. It looked a little forced.
君がどうするかは君が自分の意思で決めればいい。ただ、優子のことを知っていてほしかった。
Well, that's none of my concern.
かもしれないね。
He shrugged. Is that all you wanted to talk to me about? He threw his still long cigarette into the garbage bin and shook his head again.
実は、ここからが本題なんだが。
After hearing that, I wanted to ask him what all that talk about Yuko was for, but I held back my question.
実は昨日、美術の課題のことで、一年の女子が何人か美術室に来たらしいんだ。
What?
君の口から言ってくれないかな。ヒロノさんに美術室で裸にならないようにって。この前は美術室の前を歩いてた女子生徒を捕まえて、いきなり脱いでくれとか頼み込んだらしいし、困ったことに顧問の俺のところに苦情が来るんだよね。ヒロノさんはあまり俺の言うことを聞いてくれないからね。日村くんならもしかしてと思って。
Excuse me.
ちょっと日村くん。
I bowed and walked away without saying another word. Talking to Mr. Amamiya about Yuko and Nagi was not what I had in mind. Lunchtime was my precious moment to relax. I ended up wasting it on something pointless. Definitely pointless. After school, Nagi skipped afternoon classes and Shuichi had immediate plans. No one was left in class. On days off like this, I would usually study in the library. However, I opened my bag and took out a piece of scrap paper wedged inside a textbook. It was the paper airplane that Yuko threw. Just a simple white paper airplane. But I also saw the red watch. And I saw the Christmas when I lost everything. I gritted my teeth. It felt as though I was entangled in an invisible thread. One I could never escape from. Ottawa presented itself beyond the door. There was a light, humid breeze. Yuko was there. She was standing with her back to me at the edge of the roof. The wind was playing with her hair. I wondered what kind of expression she had on. I stepped forward.
先輩
Yuko started to turn around. Then,
あら
her knee was bent in an awkward fashion. All Yuko could do was mutter like an idiot. I was already running as her posture crumbled. I grabbed her hand in the nick of time. Ugh. I pulled her body in with all my strength. Our bodies plopped onto the floor of the roof. The floor of the floor, yeah. Good job, brain. Really nailed that sentence. Yuko and I were in the perfect position for some scandalous activity. That's my line. What do you think you're doing?
私ちょっと体力がなくてたまにふらーっと倒れちゃうんですよね
Then don't stand in places like that.
ごめんなさい
I sighed. She was messed up all right.
実は
She put on a faint smile.
ここにいればまた日村先輩が見つけてくれるんじゃないかと思って
Are you an
会
idiot?
いたかったんです。会って話がしたかったんですよ。自分から近づいたら叱られるからこんなことしかできなくて。
I wanted to sigh again. Afraid of being scolded? Did she have the maturity of a child? Listen up, Yuko.
はい
Watch yourself, okay?
はい。
She smiled brightly and nodded.
でもそういう偉そうなこと言うのなら
What?
お兄ちゃんって呼んじゃいますよ。
No, you are not my sister. How dare she call me that? Akane was the only one who could ever call me Oni-chan. You have your own family. Mr. Amamiya was her brother, but he couldn't spend much time with her. Still, he was concerned enough about her. That was probably why he wanted to talk to me.
先輩、
What now?
私先輩とまた会えて嬉しかった。そう言いましたよね。
Something like that?
なんで私が嬉しいかわかりますか？
Like I'd know? I thought it was because I used to treat her better than everyone else, but I didn't say that out loud. If I did, there was a chance I would do it again.
先輩は鈍いなぁ。ほんと相変わらずですよね。
Are you trying to pick a fight with me?
日村先輩はね、
Her cheeks started to gain a little color.
先輩は私の初恋の人なんです。
Without answering, I silently pushed her back and tried to stand up. Instead, we hugged, or rather Yuko was clinging onto me.
そうですよ。私はあなたの妹なんかじゃありません。妹だったらこんな風にして抱きつけません。
Yuko?
私の初恋は今もまだ終わっていないんです。
Figures. Yuko just wanted to depend on someone. She lived her entire life without anyone caring much for her. I knew what she was missing. The warmth of holding hands with Akane was something I would always remember.
ゆうくん、
Yuko called me timidly by a more endearing name. That was what she used to call me back then. I reached towards Yuko's back. Something in me wanted to feel that warmth again. Just this once I wanted to experience something I had lost.
お兄ちゃんは勝手だよ。
An echoing voice in my head made me stop.
茜のこと忘れられないからって、その人を茜の代わりにするの？
No, Akane, that wasn't my intention.
そんなの許さない。
I hadn't thought about how Akane would feel about all this.
お兄ちゃんが茜を殺したんだよ。
She would still be alive were it not for my cowardice. And I knew it. Oh no. I'm sorry, Kevin. Oh. I gently separated her body from mine. Her face was red. That day, everything burned to a crisp.
先輩、
I returned to my home once the flames had dimmed. The house had collapsed. Several plumes of smoke rose from within. Then I moved away the rubble around where Akane was sleeping, one piece at a time. I see. He was there for World War III, okay. Yeah, but sorry. Being a kid and all, I could barely make any progress. I didn't know how long it took. If morning came, I never saw it, for the soot in the sky covered the sun. Sometime later, I found it. A pitch-black, charred, short, log-like thing.
先輩、もうやめてください。
That was my sister. But not anymore. The person who could call me her Oni-chan no longer existed. What? Hear mice? Ah, because you were trained with the high-pitched voices, so then you should be able to hear mice. Is that it, or what's the reasoning there? Okay, I'm not familiar with that one, but yeah, enjoy your anime. It's cute. Okay, I seem to be the one who is not in the know about this. Let me just quickly search for it. See at least like an image or something. Oh, alright. Based on a manga. Oh, interesting drawing style. Cute girls too. Okay. Gotcha. I understood that the moment I saw the watch. I understood that the moment I saw the watch gripped in her hand.
先輩、
Now, do you see why I can't return your feelings? I couldn't do anything for Yuko. I didn't have the right to do anything after leaving my sister to die. That is why I told you to stay away from me.
勝手なことを言いますね。あなたがここに来たんですよ。
Well, communication is not always verbal, okay? It can be all sorts of things. You're right. I made a crooked smile. Did I want to cut my ties with Yuko or not? My actions were obviously contradicting what I said.
私が忘れさせます。
Forget what? I gazed into her determined eyes.
私があなたの悲しい思い出を消しますから。
The smell of perfume wafted from her hair. All of a sudden, I realized that Yuko was no longer a child.
だから私にそばにいさせてください。あなたのそばにいたいんです。
Yuko was offering herself to me, but I couldn't accept her. If I clearly rejected her, I would be rid of all my troubles.
今日はこのまま暗くなるのを待って星を見ませんか？
I'm not into that.
でも綺麗なんです。ここから満天の星を見上げていると吸い込まれそうになりますよ。多分二人で見ればもっと綺麗。
Akane's feelings were still echoing inside my head. She would never forgive me if I went ahead with this. Looking at the sky, which Yuko called beautiful, and feeling the warmth of others was no longer possible for my sister. Instead, the cold earth was all she would ever feel. Oh man. Other consciousness. Okay, this story seems to be divided in more parts than the others. She can do phone calls sometimes. Man, I sometimes can't do phone calls for the life of me. I need to take a bit of time to mentally prepare to make a phone call. So if she can make phone calls, then she's golden. It did make me miss the stupid high school romance. Aww. You mean like the genre in general, or this specific one? Because I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong or stupid about it. It's if it's fun and entertaining, then whatever, you know, it works. If it works for you, then it works, and that's all. They say that everyone starts out alone and ends up dying alone. I thought that was a little incorrect. It may be true that everyone is born with a clean slate, but when someone loses their life, they take a part of someone they were intimate with along with them. A part of Yu Himura died with his sister. However, the majority of myself was still alive. I was alive, so that meant I got hungry. Just because I was used to eating only one meal a day didn't mean I starved myself. I wanted to at least eat breakfast before heading to school, but it was too late for that now. Class was about to begin.
ゆうくん。おはようございます、ゆうくん。
Now she switched to Yukin. I'm just a bit of a sucker for romance anime. Me too! Me too! Just revel in it, enjoy it. It's fine. I glared at the person beside me. She had walked up to me and begun to talk as though we were best friends. Could this day get any worse?
なんという優しくないお言葉。
Yuko looked astonished. I wasn't buying it. You shouldn't be addressing older people like that. You're not a kid.
同い年なら呼び捨てですよ。ちゃんとくんづけしてるじゃないですか。
Fine. You said hello, so leave me a... Something wasn't right. Why aren't you wearing your shoes? Winter uniforms in the summer, nudity in the art room, and now this? At least this particular fashion statement wasn't too controversial. But that's not the issue.
自問自答の一部だけ声に出さないでくれます？
Oh, no, it's because you're doing weird things.
ですけど、よくすぐに気づきましたね。あの愛らしかった優少年も、とうとう女の子の腰から下に興味がいくようになったんですね。
Yeah, well, mine too. So, I can join the club too. It doesn't mean that you need to have experienced a particular thing for you to find that thing entertaining in a story, movie, anime, TV series, whatever it is. Romance connoisseur. Oh man. Now you're the one spewing out nonsense.
あら、目ざといだけじゃなくて耳もいいんですね。
She seemed to genuinely admire that part of me. However, that didn't make me happy one bit. So, really, what's the story? Don't tell me that Mr. Amamiya was too cheap to buy you a new pair. Yuko giggled and shook her head.
同行してきて下駄箱開けたら上履きがきれいさっぱり消えてなくなってまして。
So, someone stole them? I could see someone stealing an umbrella, but shoes?
最近流行ってるストーカーとかいうやつでしょうか。上履きを盗むなんてなかなかマニアックですね。
McSexy. Oh, well, that's cool. Good one indeed. Good one indeed. Yeah, Clinton has a point there, I guess. I don't know, I never stopped to analyze why I enjoy it or not. It's just, if I enjoy it, I'm just enjoying myself. And I don't think, why am I enjoying it? I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, you know, your life is your life. I don't know if like putting qualifiers like successful in a certain period of time from this perspective makes sense or not. It's just what it was then, and now it's different. And if in your opinion it's an improvement, then good job, enjoy that. But don't beat up little Kevin too much, because I don't like that. I imagine your cute, like younger Kevin being sad because you're looking back and telling him that he didn't do enough. I'm sure he did the best he could at the time. And in time, his best became better. Because that's what happens in life. People evolve. King of dinner dates. Well, even kings sometimes come from rags. Sure, yes, it's a bit of an overused trope, but I don't necessarily see anything wrong with that. Oh, I thought about it for a bit, but I needed more information.
でも意外とショックです。
I guess it was hard even for Yuko.
久しぶりに再会した幼なじみが美少女の持ち物をかすめ取るような下道になり下がってるなんて。
Who are you talking about now? I decided to leave my criticism of her self-description for later.
まさかとは思いますが、匂いとか嗅ぐためですか？
Hey, this immature brat didn't realize that some jokes could be carried to the point where they were tasteless.
ないものは仕方ないですからね。諦めます。
Hey, aren't you going to apologize for wrongfully accusing me?
いやいや、女の子に頭を下げさせちゃダメだよ。
Just where did you suddenly sprout from, Kuze? Yet another idiot appeared in front of me.
いつだって男は許してもらう側なのさ。
Do both of you enjoy irritating people this early in the morning?
割と。
うんうん。
Kevin is a real life protagonist. We all are, in our own ways. This was supposed to be Shuichi's first encounter with Yuko. What was with this creepy synergy?
あ、そうそう。自己紹介が遅れたね。俺は久世修一。ここにおわす日村優くんの唯一無二の親友です。
Shuichi politely greeted her in a nauseating, sugar-coated manner.
あ、はじめまして。1年の雨宮優子です。なんと日村先輩の愛の奴隷です。
Okay.
奇遇だな。俺も君の奴隷になりたいな。
Enjoy your food, Kevin. You two, enough already. I seriously wanted them gone.
それではそういうことで。ご主人様が怖いので、優子は教室に参ります。お世話になりました。
Yuko started to leave. Wait.
はい。
You'll get hurt if you keep walking like that. Go to the staff room first. They'll lend you a pair of shoes or something. Then I turned my back on Yuko and Shichi and walked away. They started talking behind my back, but I didn't care. Why did I have to be nice to her at the end there? It was as though Yuko could turn me into a different person. Thinking about it made me angry at myself. I have been losing my focus lately. Shichi caught up with me as I entered the classroom.
何も先に行くことないじゃないか。
I don't want to spend another second with her. Being with her is like being in an ocean of insanity.
ま、夏だからな。海はいいよな。
That's what he took out of his his line. There really was something wrong with this guy. I placed my bag on my desk.
いやー、しかし優子ちゃんかわいいな。近くで見たの初めてだけど、あれは1年じゃトップクラスだね。いや、学園でも5本の指に入るね。
So why don't you dazzle her with your wit and charm? Or did you already try when I left?
まさか。ちょっと日村の悪口で盛り上がってきただけだよ。
I don't want to know. The chances of him telling Yuko some nasty things about me were very high. But of course none of that mattered in the end, so I dropped it.
冗談は置いといて。ちょっと口説く気にはならないね。
Really? Not your type, huh? I never figured Shuichi was the type to be picky when it came to girls. For once, he had the serious look on his face.
正直なとこ、あの子は俺の手には負えないね。
Care to explain why?
はてさて。
Shuichi feigned ignorance. I knew I couldn't let any more information out of him. Sorry, I couldn't get any more information out of him. Well, alright then. You said you've seen her before, right?
ああ、言ったけど。
In that case, you'd know which class she's in, right?
確か1年 B 組だな。女子出席番号2番。
He knows her student number? How did he know that last bit of info? I wouldn't be surprised if he told me her height, weight, and 3 sizes. Do you know anyone else in 1B? I don't care if it's a guy or a girl, I just don't want the blabbermouth.
いるよ。その子を紹介すればいいのかな。
Please.
他ならぬ日村からのお願いだしね。ドイツへ行く前にお前に友情の素晴らしさについて実感させる機会ができて
Again
嬉しいよ。
with the leaving to Germany. I didn't care about Shiichi and his delusions of friendship. Still, if there were perks for being around him the whole year, maybe it wasn't so bad. His own actions were questionable at best, but everything he did always seemed to work out in the end. Lunchtime. Shiichi immediately disappeared, so I was free. I usually wouldn't eat anything. Instead, I always try to relax during this time. How can you not eat at lunch? Like, I would feel so destroyed if I didn't eat lunch. What? Oh well. With Shiichi gone, I was assured that all would be quiet.
ユウ、ちょっといいか？
Right, there was her too. Sure, what is it?
ここではちょっとな。あ、そうだ。美術室に行こうか。
That place again? I made a grim face. What if Mr. Amamiya was in there having a smoke again?
心配しなくても。雨宮先生なら今日は出張だとか言ってたぞ。
Oh. Oh, sorry. So he had a second job.
それじゃあ行こう。
Nagi took out a small bento from her lunch bag and headed out the door. I find it easy to not eat lunch when I'm focused hard on something. Okay, yeah, I understand postponing it. It's happened to me as well, but just skipping completely? I don't know. I get very hungry. Lately, I get very hungry around 11ish or so, which is early for lunch. So I have to like hang in there until it's a proper time to have lunch, because if I don't, then I'm gonna get too hungry way ahead of dinner, and so like the cycle perseveres. So I want to kind of break it in a way, but just not having lunch at all, man. And even in the days when I had to postpone it because I was busy with something, when I ended and had to eat, I was just absolutely famished. So I can see how people do it without it, but you know, to each their own. I can respect it. It's hard to empathize. I see what you mean. I don't know. Maybe it's just me being being old, but I feel like having food at the exact same time every day is such a huge improvement, and it's I cannot overstate how much better it is when you have a sort of routine and regularity to it. Right, so there was no one else in the art room. Nobody would want to eat in a place like this.
ん？なぜだ？
What do you mean, fasting? What about fasting, are you asking me? Naki pulled out a chair and sat down. There's this lingering odor. It reminds me of the science room. It's meant to be healthy too. I mean, right. I guess I've heard some things, I've read some things about it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's for everybody, right? Maybe some people can do it. I just personally couldn't. Yeah, intermittent fasting is what you mean, like have certain hours during the day where you eat a high amount of food and then not eat for the rest of the day and just eat it. But there's still a sense of regularity there too, right? Because you do it regularly and on a schedule. It just wouldn't work for me. I don't think so, because I get full very fast, but then in an hour, a couple hours time, like I don't know, or like not couple, but let's say 3-4, I'm gonna start feeling the hunger again. So that wouldn't work for me. Maybe I have a small stomach. I don't know.
そうかな。普通だと思うが。
Being the daughter of a painter, her sense of smell was probably a little off. She opened her bento.
ユウもたまには昼くらい食べた方がいいんじゃないか？
I do eat nuts from like once in a while. Even if I switch types of nuts and so on, at some point I just get bored of nuts. They all kind of have a similar sense of taste, even though the texture might vary a little bit here and there. It's boring. That's none of your concern. One meal a day was tough, but it wasn't as tough as though I was dying from malnutrition.
じゃあそこで僕が食べてるところを見ているといい。
How thoughtful.
僕は直感だけで生きてる人なので、議論に持ち込まれると困るからな。
There was no logic in her at all.
どうでもいいけど、そんなにじっと見られてると食べにくい。
You just told me to watch you. Not only did she have no logic, but she also couldn't remember anything.
そうだったか。さすがは校内一の優等生。なかなかの記憶力だな。ま、どうでもいいことだな。
Nagi moved her chopsticks. So, why did you bring me here?
僕の昼食に付き合ってるじゃないか。
That's why you brought me here? Couldn't she just eat lunch by herself?
そういえば、何かクゼと悪巧みでもしてるのか？
Huh?
休み時間になるたびにクゼがどこかに出て行って、戻ってきたら君に何か報告してただろ？
I have also had periods in my life where I used nuts as little snacks during the day. I just can't imagine myself or depending on them, I guess, for energy on a regular basis. It's just I need variety. I just need to switch things up. That's all. There was a time when I was I was into various types of nuts, especially cashews. I like those a lot. It's just I'm not bashing nuts. I'm trying not to. I do like them. It's just I want to just enjoy different kinds of flavors and tastes and just eat tasty food. And warm food. Cannot overstate just how good warm home cooked food is. Nuttist. Okay. I'm amazed you noticed.
絵描きは何でも観察する癖があるんだよ。
Then it was nothing special about Nagi herself.
それで何なんだ？まさかクゼに話せて僕に話せないなんて言うのなら。
Nagi's glare was piercing. There was no chance she would let go of this issue. Any sort of logical persuasion wouldn't reach her.
大丈夫だ。自慢じゃないけど、僕は口が硬い。
But why are you poking your nose into other people's business? You wouldn't be able to find anyone else to tell secrets to in the first place. Oh no! Oh no, her face! Oh. Oh, that's sad. Oh, his shoulders were shaking. Sorry, I lowered my head.
許す。
Yes. One good thing about Nagi was that she could cheer up right after an apology.
許すから話してくれ。僕を仲間外れにするな。
Fine. This doesn't get out, you hear me? She nodded. I summarized the situation in about 3 minutes.
つまり、クゼに1年 B 組の様子を探らせているわけだな。
He's a chick magnet. It's times like these where he can be a little useful. I also could have said that these were the only times where he wasn't useless. That's mean. She nodded again and stood up. Nagi? She gave me her half-empty bento without answering and left the art room. Wait, she didn't mean to give this to me, right? 10 minutes passed. Nagi showed up at the entrance without a sound and briskly walked over to me. Just where did you end up going?
ほら、
Nagi tossed something onto the floor. Wait, are those? On the floor was a pair of shoes, and girls' ones at that.
うん。多分ゆこちゃんのだろ。
It's Yuko, not Yuko. Anyway, where did you find them? Nagi sat down and continued eating her lunch. It didn't matter to her that her hands were filthy after touching someone else's shoes.
1年 B 組の下駄箱の上。
On top?
そう、上に乗っかってた。手が届かなかったから、その辺にいた1年に踏み台になってもらって取ってきた。
Footstool. Was it just a guess?
僕も昔、上履きをなくしたことがあったんだよ。
Nagi smiled. I recalled her mentioning that she never had many friends. Did Yuko also have trouble fitting in? Students have a tendency to form cliques and exclude those deemed to be different. It's like that at every school. Nagi, what do you think about all this?
僕が言えるのは2つ。ひとかけらの悪意もなしに、上履きをあんなところに置く輩はいないってことと。君はさっさとそれをゆこちゃんに届けてやれってことだ。
Nagi then turned her eyes to her bento and focused on eating. It appeared that she was allowing me to leave. This is unusually kind of her. Maybe I would ask her about it later. I couldn't see Yuko in her classroom. Her classmates appeared to look peaceful from a quick glance. However, I knew that beauty was only skin deep. If she's not here, there was only one other place I could think of. The door to the roof was locked. That's strange. Did she go to the washroom? Maybe the astronomy club had a room. No, it was disbanded. There were no other leads because I hardly knew anything about her. I had no way to predict her movement patterns at all. What a waste of time. There were too many holes to fill. What happened to her, when it happened, and how she felt about it? I had nothing. If Yuko was being bullied, did I even have the means to stop it? Lunch will be over soon. In the end, I couldn't find her. She probably borrowed another pair of shoes, so it wasn't an emergency.
時に日村よ。
Yeah? Shuichi started talking to me from his seat.
ただでさえ普段から人殺しみたいな顔してるのに、今日は一段と競争に磨きがかかってるぞ。
Now you're into the habit of looking at men?
例の件、そんなに深刻な話なのか？
What are you talking about?
優子ちゃんの教室での様子を調べろって言ったのはお前だろ。
Shuichi lowered his voice. Oh, right. I ended up conducting my own investigation. Hiding someone else's shoes could only be described as childish. The problem was that there were no children at the school. Even if Yuko filed a complaint, it would be dismissed as a small prank, only to be repeated over and over again.
待てよ。じゃあ俺は？
You're no longer needed.
何？
That's so
ラブヘビ
mean.
にならないように散々苦労したのに、俺の努力は一体。
Sometimes effort doesn't get rewarded. Think of this as a life lesson.
いい性格してるよな、相変わらず。
Why, thank you. I really needed to hear that. I ended the conversation sarcastically and stood up. Was it just me, or was the first year floor noisier than others? Ottawa Collegiate was the prefecture's leading prep school, so it was natural that students used the first year to cram in as much fun as possible before studies became serious. Fun was something I never experienced. Between school and making a living, there was no time for it. I walked past 1B. Just how was I going to give Yuko's shoes back to her? I couldn't just walk into the classroom, and calling her out was simply out of the question. There was no other choice. I felt like a stalker for doing so, but I decided to wait for Yuko to leave the classroom. 20 minutes passed. Yuko wasn't coming out. Did I miss her? I was sure I caught a glance of her figure when I peeked into 1B earlier. So be it. I muttered to myself and entered 1B once again. The classroom seemed deserted. A breeze was coming in from an open window, which made the room cooler than the hallway. I took a step inside.
あら
Yuko was alone, sitting in a chair and staring off into space. She raised her head and looked at me.
日村先輩、教室間違えてますよ。
Don't be an idiot. What are you still doing here?
放課後の教室で一人佇む少女。なかなか絵になるでしょ
Yuko smiled. Enough with the acting. I cut to the chase and pulled her shoes out of a plastic bag. She stared at them for a moment.
やっぱり、日村先輩が犯人だったんですね。
No, you're jumping to conclusions.
冗談っすよ、先輩。わざわざ探してきてくれたんですね。ありがとうございます。
She smiled and changed back into her own shoes.
あら、ぴったり。これで王子様と結婚できますね。
They say the Cinderella complex is a term for women who have an unconscious desire to be taken care of by others due to a fear of being independent.
へえ、先輩は物知りですね。
I shrugged. Then I noticed the textbooks on her desk. Doing some extra studying? I casually picked up one of the books and flipped through. Hey.
なかなか面白いでしょ。
Yuko was cheerful. But this was no laughing matter. There were scribbles all over the book. Please, hurry up and die already. Stop breathing. What's with all the black? It's so queer. Idiots.
口が悪くなりましたね。昔もかなりのものでしたけど。
What are you so calm about? For some reason, I was getting upset. Who are the punks doing this to you? I violently shut the textbook. I felt like I would tear the pages from it if I looked at them any longer.
少し不思議なんですけど。
Huh? I raised my voice without thinking, but Yuko smiled it off.
どうして日村先輩が怒ってるんです？もしかして私を愛するがゆえに？
I'm not going to humor you with a response.
私にとってはいつものことですからね。冗談の一つも出るというものですよ。
Normally? This was inexcusable. I didn't think this was the first time, but hearing it from Yuko herself was somewhat of a shock.
そんなにハードじゃないですよ。言ってみればミディアムいじめ。
She was being persistently frank. There is no medium or well done for bullying, it's all the same. I couldn't believe what she was saying. When did it start? Yuko looked away from me and started to think. There was no hint of sadness in her expression.
比較的最近ですね。でも入学した頃から割と無視されがちだったんですよ。
Why would they do this to you?
ちょっとね、友達を作るタイミングを逃しちゃったら今日までずるずると。攻撃が始まったのは衣替えの後からですけどね。
I could see that. Yuko was an easy target once she became the only person dressed like this.
不気味だとか魔女っぽいとか言われて、少しはお話しする人もいたのに、もう今じゃ教室でポッツーンって感じです。
Okay, but how did it grow into bullying? Yuko shrugged.
さあ。彼女たちもいろいろ悩んだり立ち止まりそうになったりする年頃でしょうし、私みたいな孤立無縁の儚げな女の子は絶好のサンドバッグに見えるんじゃないでしょうかね。
She was being harassed to the point where intervention was needed. However, she was describing the situation as though it wasn't a big deal at all. We all go through rough patches in life. It was expected, inevitable. However, the rough patches of others have nothing to do with me. No matter what Yuko was going through, I had to turn a blind eye.
私があなたの悲しい思い出を消しますから。
They say it's no use crying over spilled milk. What an what an asinine idiom. Mourning the tragedies of the past was normal human behavior. Anybody would understand that. Therefore, I couldn't help but keep mourning. Whoever made that saying up couldn't have known what it felt like to lose a child. If he did, he was a heartless person. I doubt that person meant the milk as a metaphor for a lost dear person, you know? Like, they probably just meant if you made a mistake, there's no use like looking back and crying over it, just like try to remedy it and move forward from there, but not in the sense of people dying, just, you know, a regular mistake in life or something.
日村先輩、お待たせしました。
I heard Yuko's voice but didn't respond. If Akane were still alive, what kind of person would she have become? She would have been the same age as Yuko. I couldn't get over that fact. No use crying over spilled milk, just wipe it, crybaby. Yeah. I'm sure the metaphor for spilled milk had like a range of things that it encompassed, and people dying, you know, trauma, severe loss wasn't part of it. He's taking things a little bit to the extreme, but I mean it's warranted given what he's gone through and the way he's feeling about it right now. He hasn't worked through it a single bit, and his solution is to not think about it, which it's only going to fester, which it already is. Instead of Yuko erasing my memories, she was making them even more vivid.
何ですか、そんな怖い顔して。
Deal with it. I turned away. Why was I being kind to Yuko? I hated myself for that. Just looking at her made me upset. Crybaby? It's not censored. It's not censored for me either. Automod never said anything about it. I didn't have to approve or disapprove anything, so I don't know. Oh man. It's weird, no, it's not for us. I'm pretty sure. I see it clear as day. Come on, we're doing this because you wouldn't shut up about it. I couldn't feel her presence behind me, so I reluctantly turned my head. What the?
よっぽど私の靴に恨みがあるみたいですね。
Yuko was innocently holding up her pair of outdoor boots.
ずいぶん念入りです。神経の細かい人がいるもんですね。
Give those to me. I snatched the boots from her hands without waiting for a reply. Wow, they're gutted. Must have been a knife.
これを素手で切り裂けるような人はあまりいないでしょうね。いたら一度やってみせてほしいくらいです。
She was still smiling. We're going.
はい？どこへです？
Like, you can see it on stream, Beatrice. Like, the exact way it is in the chat box, that's how we see it. So, it's weird. You mentioned that they were stressed out. You know who did this, don't you?
先輩の前ではうかつなこと言えませんね。
Yuko shook her head, but her smile didn't waver.
どうでもいいので放っておきましょう。
No, we're getting to the bottom of this.
ですから先輩が怒ることじゃないですよ。どうしてそんなに気にするんです？
I glared at her. Because it's disgusting. Even though I wanted to ignore it, I was afraid I would turn into one of those people if I allowed it to slide. That was my rationale for helping her.
この程度は可愛いものですよ。
Don't push it. I had to contain my anger. The people who did this went to the extent of using a knife. It made even an outside party such as myself shiver at the thought of what might come next. Yuko paused for a moment.
だって人間ってそういうものでしょ？
She retrieved her boots from me and swung them around. I guess she didn't want to be pitied. Either that or she was truly oblivious about the situation. I couldn't read her heart. The only heart I could read was my own. It was telling me to be angry at those who were doing this to Yuko.
そうだ。
She stopped on a dime and turned towards me. Her sly smile suggested that she was scheming something.
先輩、ちょっとしたお願いがあるんですけど。
For a moment. Midday Sunday. I was standing under the blazing sun. The temperature continued to increase. I didn't get any relief from the humid breeze. She's so late. I looked at my watch. The rendezvous time was 15 minutes ago. If the person in question were Shuichi, I would have gone home by now.
木村先輩、お待たせしました。
Oh, she's so cute! You're late! Oh, I scowled at the jogging Yuko. Her clothes were long-sleeved as usual.
ごめんなさい、道が混んでいて。
At this time of day, you'll have to come up with something better than that.
お笑いって難しい。
What did she mean by that?
ごめんなさい、本当は寝坊です。実はなかなか寝つけなくて眠ったのが朝方だったりして。
I thought it was something like that.
緊張してたのかな。意外と可愛いとこあるでしょう。
What is a DPI blocker? Maybe you meant it as a joke, but I don't know what it is, so I can't catch the joke either. Sorry. Are you trying to provoke me?
遅れたお詫びに少しくらいならどこかお好きなところを舐めてもいいですが。
Hey, that's enough. I would wager that this girl didn't realize the implications of what she said. Software designed to bypass deep packet inspection systems found in many internet which block access to certain websites. Okay, gotcha. Thank you for helping me be more cultured. But blocks the block, yes. Gotcha. This was turning out to be a complete waste of time.
それにしても。
What are you muttering about?
ちょっと感動してるんですよ。先輩と日曜に二人きりで会えるなんて。なんか嘘みたいですね。
What kind of babbling was this? A meeting was nothing to go crazy over. It couldn't have been that big of a deal to her. I don't want to spend another minute hearing your nonsense. Let's just hurry up and do this already.
まずはお昼ご飯からですよ。
What? I had one leg forward before she stopped me with that line. We were supposed to be buying you your new boots.
何のために待ち合わせをこの時間にしたと思ってるんです？
Yuko spoke as though her suggestion was nothing. This day was becoming worse by the moment. Her boots were destroyed 2 days ago. She had asked me to come with her to buy a new pair. I had no obligation to comply. However...
ナギさんには付き合えて、私はダメなんですか？ やっぱり、あの人と特別な関係なんですね。 ゆうくんってもう大人。
Yuko used manipulation. It was hyper effective. Super effective, sorry. Etc. etc. She drew me into a corner and successfully coerced me into going with her. You didn't say a word about dining out. Didn't I tell you already? I don't eat lunch.
私は食べますよ。
Yuko grinned. What did I ever do to deserve this? Of course, she just had to pick my place of employment of all places.
前から一度入ってみたかったんですよ。なかなかいい感じのお店ですよね。
You don't say. The look on the server's face didn't comfort me one bit. I had a shift in the evening. What action would be appropriate in this situation? He doesn't eat lunch, probably has nuts in the morning. Maybe. For the energy.
先輩もやっぱり何か食べた方がいいですよ。
Fine. I didn't care about not eating anymore. On Sundays, I would do laundry and other housework, then focus on studying until my evening shift. However, I was now here and the clock was ticking. Since I agreed on this foolish excursion, I may as well play the role of the fool entirely. Yuko ordered a sandwich and iced coffee. I ordered curry and a salad.
ところで前から聞きたかったんですけど、
I answered with my mouth full of water.
先輩がお昼を食べないっていうのはやっぱりその。
That's right, I don't have the money. There was no reason to hide it, so I told her honestly. Food is the easiest thing to skimp on. As long as I eat enough to survive, I'm fine.
でも
No, you're not. No, you're not. Like, where do you get the energy to study and stuff? You're just like wearing yourself to the bone, man. Yuko looked worried. It's not like I'm broke, but it all goes towards rent and other expenses.
日村先輩は進学するんですか？
Oh, sorry. Sure. I nodded. Many career paths were available, but I decided that furthering my studies was the best choice. I want to be at the top of the totem pole.
上ですか？
I was left with nothing. When you are at the very bottom, aiming up is all you can do.
そうですね。
She nodded.
やっぱり日村先輩はすごいですよ。どんな逆境にいてもへこたれないんだから。辛かったり苦しかったり、そういう時にこそ人の本当の強さって現れるんですね。
Not really. It's because I had nothing to live for. With no distractions, I could focus solely on what was ahead. Sorry. On what was ahead. When trapped in a corner, the only possible strategy is to keep fighting and hope to break out. I understood that philosophy more or less seemed like desperation.
でもちょっと。
Her sentence trailed off. What is it?
もう絵は描かないんですか？
I see. You're just an agent of Mr. Amamiya.
まさか違いますよ。
No one is going to make me draw again. Not you and not him.
だから違いますよ。心外ですね。
She was hesitating. I guess she was telling the truth. Mr. Amamiya didn't seem to be the scheming type anyway.
ただ私は日村先輩が描く絵が好きでしたから。先輩の絵はすごかったですよね。施設の子供の中で大人よりも上手なのは日村先輩だけでしたよ。
That was only a hobby. Hobbies don't put food on the table. I turned away instead of telling her to be quiet. As if on cue, the server approached us with our order. The humid air assaulted us again once we finished our meal and left the restaurant. Still, Yuko walked beside me without even so much as a single bead of sweat on her face. It was an idiosyncrasy I would never get used to.
本当におごっていただいてよかったんですか？
Don't get worked up over it. A gentleman always pays for a lady's meal, no matter the situation. Well... That's a bit of an extreme view, but...
それではごちそうさまでした。
I understand his
ということで。
intentions are good in this case. Yeah. I would have to skip eating for about 2 days to cover this.
ではそろそろ靴を買いに行きましょうか。
Traditional view. Yeah, I mean, it's if you want to do it as a nice gesture, right? But like there are limits if sorry, I clicked by mistake. I am not of the mind that I expect my date to always treat me. Like, I can accept it as a gesture of being nice, but at some point I want to treat them too, right? And have things be more or less balanced. I cannot understand those ladies that are always of the mind that if he doesn't pay, then he's not worth dating or something. It just boggles my mind. I can't wrap my head around it. And yeah. But hey, it's an easy red flag to notice. So don't get me wrong, I don't treat my date. Yeah, it's just a thing that you should communicate over, and there should be a balance somewhere there. You know? Maybe not necessarily in the payment of food, right? Maybe, I don't know, one pays for a couple dinners, one pays for like, I don't know, spending a whole day at an aquarium and buying souvenirs and stuff. Like, just like a balance between things. And when there's an imbalance and only one party is expected to foot the bill, it's already just, for me at the very least, there's some sort of like sign that makes me take a step back and be like, what exactly is this? Because it doesn't feel right. Yes, of course. Of course. Yeah, that makes no sense. It makes zero sense. Yeah. Alright, so, yeah, let's get this over with.
ちなみに私も女の子の端くれですので、お買い物は長いですよ。やっぱり新品はいいですね。
Happy now?
ピカピカなのがいいんですよ。
Are you a kid or something? Yuko immediately put on her new boots and began walking around in them. It was a mystery as to why she kept her old ones for so long. After all that, I give up. In the end, Yuko purchased a pair identical to her old ones.
いいじゃないですか。これが気に入ってるんですし。
You could have chosen something a little better.
また被害に遭わないとも限りませんから。高いもの買うのはちょっとためらわれます。
Yuko smiled, much to my chagrin. We're not dealing with the people who destroyed your old pair?
日村先輩に脅されたら一生のトラウマになりますよ。それはあまりに気の毒です。
I mean, okay, right, if there's a certain understanding there and so on, and if it's not like on a daily or quite frequent basis, I can understand that it's a nice gesture and so on. It's just some people take it to extremes and take advantage of it and expect it. I think that's more than the outcome itself, more than who actually pays for things, it's the expectation of being treated to things that really rubs me the wrong way, right? So if someone if you like decide to meet someone for a meal and you don't go prepared to pay for at least your part and expect them to cover it for you, then there's an issue there, right? If you do go prepared to cover your part but they offer to do it instead and you accept because you know, you have a good relationship with them and it's a nice gesture or whatnot. Sure, that's fine. But more than the outcome, it's the intentions and the expectations that can be like a huge red flag about someone. Yeah, of course. Ah, you're getting on my nerves.
キャー、とうとう先輩にまでいじめられちゃうんですね。
Was the word anger not in her dictionary? She was being bullied at school, but she wasn't putting up any bit of resistance. Yuko, is that how you deal with life? When anything happens, all I ever see you do is smile and pretend it's nothing. Do you really believe that's healthy?
いいも悪いもないでしょう。
She responded almost immediately.
王子様と結婚して幸せになったシンデレラはママ母たちに復讐したでしょうか。
Like, I know, I don't think about things like that.
いいんですよ。私は憧れの先輩と日曜日にデート。今が楽しいからいいんです。
Don't get caught up in the moment. Wait. Didn't she just say something strange? Hey, this isn't a date.
もう手遅れです。私はデートだと思ってますからね。
You tricked me. Yuko tilted her head a little.
時に日村先輩
Shut up already.
もしかして先輩もこれが初デートだったりします？
Why should I tell you? Wait, I'm a little bit out of center.
初めてなんですね。
I didn't say anything.
よかった。嬉しいな。初めて同士、大事な記念日になりますね。
Keep telling yourself that. This wasn't a date. This was just a brat being selfish and dragging me along. Nothing else.
実は付き合ってほしいところがあるんですけど。
Hey, I know there's a reason behind that too.
目的？そんなものありませんよ。乙女心は複雑なので、自分でも何が何だかわからないのです。
What she said was nothing but hogwash. What made it even worse was that I would have to be the one to keep playing her mind games. The ringing of the church bell was a fixture of the orphanage for the whole time I was there. They wouldn't do anything even when the children complained or cried about the loudness. Couldn't they have been more sensible about it? All the ringing ever did was irritate me. I couldn't pay for my date usually because my date can pay, and then it would feel like perhaps she's coming for the free food, not for me. Yeah, it's totally understandable. However,
うわー、変わってませんね、ここ。
I would just my own personal take on it. I would never ever go on a on a date on a take. I would never go on a date expecting to be treated. Like, I would always go there with the mindset that I'm gonna cover my part of the meal. If they offer, it depends on how the situation is and how I feel about it, if I want to accept it or not, and how insistent they are on it. But I wouldn't make a case for me covering my own part of the thing, because that's how I've always been. I couldn't, I don't know. Couldn't at least not have the intention to do it. It's just, it doesn't work for me. Who was actually the one to blame for my resentment?
あ、でも少し建物が小さくなったような。私が大きくなったんですよね。
Perhaps I was simply mad at myself, the one who couldn't cry. Mad at the person who kept surviving against all odds.
あら、私、何か怒らせるようなこと言いました？
I'm being forced to come back here. Of course I'm angry.
そう言わないでくださいよ。
Yuko smiled apologetically.
私、ずっとここに来たかったんですから。
Then why didn't you? It's not like the church would bar you from entering.
なかなかそういうわけにもいかなかったんですよ。
She actually considered the feelings of all the other children who were left behind. So are we heading into the orphanage?
それはやめておきましょう。先輩もそこまでは付き合ってくれないんでしょ？
Beatrice with the inquiry. Of course not. The orphanage was my only home for most of my life. However, it wasn't a place in which to return. I left in order to set my sights higher, so I couldn't face my former teachers and peers without having accomplished anything yet.
それより礼拝堂の中って 勝手に入っていいんでしょうか？
I have no problem with that. Something from the other side of the doors hit my foot. I squatted down and picked it up.
あら、ボールですね。
From one of the kids in the orphanage, I bet. They're told not to play near the road, but of course they never listen.
先生たちの言うことを聞かない子が今でもいるんですね。
Yuko appeared to be stifling a smile. Something you want to tell me?
私が施設にいた頃は勝手に抜け出す常習犯がいたんですよ。
She chuckled to herself. Back then, the atmosphere of the orphanage immediately after the great disaster was unbearable. As a result, I always went out into the city while it was being reconstructed, and I would sketch what I saw on the back of flyers and other media. Most of my drawings were awful and amateurish, but there was an eccentric girl who was always delighted to see them. You can't just say that it's a bland answer and then throw in the harem stuff. Like you can't. Those things don't go together. Oh, oh, Clinton. Now we believe it. It's all good.
でもそのボールって見覚えがあるような。
I rotated the ball. There's a name written on it, but it's so smeared that I can't make it out.
あら、やっぱりそれ優子って書いてあるんですよ。
Oh, guys. You must have had a bit of guts back then to write your name on something that wasn't yours.
それほどでもないですよ。
Did she think that was a compliment?
私なんか可愛いものですよ。ほら、シンジ君なんか壁一面に落書きして叱られてたじゃないですか。
Yeah, that guy was always doing stupid things.
そういえば彼はどうしてます？やっぱりあの後で施設を出たんですか？
He left, but it seems he died. Yuka's face froze. It wasn't just him. Several others you knew are dead too. Wow, what a pleasant conversation.
死んだってどうしてですか？
No idea. Several children who initially survived the Great Disaster couldn't go on in the end. It didn't matter if they were eventually adopted or if they spent their entire childhood in the orphanage. The adults never told us anything more than their deaths. Maybe their deaths were due to diseases or some other unforeseen circumstances.
もしかしてその人たちは。
I told you I don't know. I didn't want to visualize the possibilities. What I knew was that our lives had been turned upside down. Some of the psychological wounds would eternally shed invisible blood, never healing. Maybe some of them took the easy way out. I see what you mean. Wow. As long as you enjoyed your time spent in that group, all is good. We were strongly warned about not playing. Sorry. I had only entered the church a handful of times. We were strongly warned about not playing inside this area. We were strongly warned about not playing inside this area. Someone's here. A man was standing at the altar. If he was praying, he probably didn't want to be disturbed.
おや？
兄さん。
Yuko was surprised to see her brother. Why are you here, Mr. Amamiya? As was I. I never knew he was a devout follower.
優子が珍しく日曜に出かけるなんて言い出したから何かと思えば。なるほど、なるほど。
He grinned. Mr. Amamiya, I believe you are making a rash assumption.
うんうん。見なかったことにしてあげよう。
You don't need to.
まあまあ、そう向きにならなくても。若いっていうのはいいね。
What a blockhead. Back to my original question. Why are you here, Mr. Amamiya? I didn't know you were Christian.
ああ。
He seemed surprised, but then he nodded.
俺じゃなくて妹がね。
Your sister? I shifted my attention to Yuko. She looked uncomfortable. Maybe she was afraid of being called unfaithful.
ま、ここでデートっていうのはどうかと思うけど、見逃してあげるから。
I keep telling you you're mistaken. Before I could finish my sentence, Mr. Amamiya grinned and slapped me on the shoulder.
日村君、ちょっと耳を拝借。
My mind was filled with uncertainty, but I moved my head closer so that only I could hear.
もしかして、もう優子と不純異性交友したの？
There it is. The man starting to show his true colors. What the? Hey! I glared at him.
何の話を？
Go over there. This has nothing to do with you.
そうそう、男同士の内緒話だから。
Mr. Amamiya brought his face close to mine again.
やるなって言っても無理だろうから、忠告だけさせてもらおうかな。
Yuko and Mr. Amamiya both had a tendency to misunderstand situations. Ottawa Collegiate was filled with people like them, people lacking tact. I could understand this as students, but Mr. Amamiya was a teacher.
もしも優子を自分のものにしたいのなら。
Suddenly, he had a serious look on his face. His eyes were making me nervous. I had never seen him look like this at school.
最も大事なのは、覚悟だよ。
What?
覚悟もなしに優子に触れたら、君はきっと後悔するよ。
What does he even mean by that? You must be out of your mind.
どんなつもりだろうと、君はもう踏み出してるみたいに見えるけどね。
He slapped my shoulder again. Then his face changed back into the appearance of the usual airheaded art teacher.
あ、そうだ。
What?
君だけじゃなくて優子の問題でもあるんだけど。
Yuko, who had been left out until now, drew towards us. Mr. Amamiya grinned.
否認は忘れないようにね。
兄さん
Must resist. Urge to punch him.
じゃ、そういうこと。俺は人と会う約束があるんで失礼するよ。人の恋路を邪魔する趣味もないしね。
Please, just leave already. Oh, man. Mr. Amamiya waved his hand and left the church. What is wrong with that man? All of this confirmed my decision to not join the art club. Him, along with Nagi. I would have become insane.
日村先輩すいません。
There's no need for that. I felt a bit of pity for Yuko, who was in the unbelievable situation of living under the same roof as Mr. Amamiya. I'm surprised to hear that you're religious, though.
いえ、違いますよ。
Huh? But he said... I was sure I heard him correctly the first time. Wait. That wasn't a plausible reason for him to be at a church.
兄さんも日村先輩と同じなんですよ。
The same? We have nothing in common. He and I were worlds apart. Yuko's smile had a tinge of loneliness.
兄さんもあの震災で妹さんを亡くしてるんです。
There wasn't a single person who was unaffected by the earthquake. However, knowing that Mr. Amamiya lost his sister changed the entire perspective.
兄さんの本当の妹さんは敬虔なクリスチャンだったらしいです。きっと教会にも何度も足を運んでいたんでしょう。
Oh.
あの人、今も妹さんの思い出から離れられないんでしょうね。
So he was just like me. No, he's nothing like you. Or better said, you are nothing like that scumbag. A man who was forever haunted by the past. Dinner rush was killing me today. That was to be expected. The rice pilaf and pasta dishes were wildly popular and attracted many customers. Phew, I could barely stand on my own two feet. But there was more to it than physical exhaustion. Some of the customers were quite a handful.
新規臭い顔をしてるな。
I heard a voice which could have only originated from the dark side. She approached me, strangely wearing her school uniform. Nagi. Trying to ambush me?
待ち伏せとあまりいい言葉じゃないな。ただ僕は君に会いに来ただけなのに。
Something up? A girl shouldn't have been wondering about this late at night. However, knowing Nagi, this was completely normal for her.
まあ立ち話もなんだ。君の家はこの近くなんだろ？
I'm surprised you knew.
去年年賀状を出したからな。ユウは返事をくれなかったけど。
Postcards aren't free, you know. I told her off bluntly and began heading home. Nagi, of course, followed me. Are you expecting me to invite you in?
僕との間に間違いでも起こると思ってるのか？それとも期待してる？
The only mistake I can see is your head. That's mean, come on. Nagi was sitting in front of me with a composed face. She either had faith in me or was very lacking in awareness compared to the average person. Either way, it saved me from having to be considerate.
ところで、お茶は出ないのか？
Too bad, so sad, there's nothing to drink but water.
本当は全然悪いと思ってないだろう。
Hey, at least you got the hint. It was strange, but this irrelevant conversation actually felt rather pleasant. Maybe I was getting used to socializing with Nagi and Shuichi.
しかし本当に殺風景な部屋だな。まるで監獄のようだ。
Have you been in a prison?
僕は君と違って善行を積み重ねてきてるのでね。
Chances are she actually believed that. How naive. How come you're wearing your uniform on a Sunday?
僕は休日でも制服だよ。というか、ほとんど私服は着ない。
You don't even change after you come home from school?
めんどくさい。
Nagi, best girl. How predictable. It doesn't matter to me, but... What do you do after you take a bath?
何も着ない。お風呂の後は髪を乾かして寝るだけだからな。
Thought so? Nagi's father and little brother would no doubt think of her actions as repugnant.
もしかしてうちに泊まりに来たいのか？
Clinton, oh god. I thought we put that story behind us. We've moved on to other things. I never suggested that.
そうか。その気になったらいつでも言ってくれ。部屋は余ってるから、うちに居候してもいいくらいだぞ。
I appreciate your kind offer, but really, I'm fine. Clinton teasing Beatrice. Even though I was on the verge of bankruptcy, I didn't want any additional welfare.
実はな、ユウ。
Oh, so there was something up your sleeve after all.
雨宮先生が僕の家に来たんだ。
Okay. Really?
ああ。正確には僕の父に会いに来たんだけど。
He knows your father or something?
父上は昔、自宅で絵画教室を開いてたんだ。困ったことに、教えたがりな性分でね。
Ah,
その絵画教室の生徒だったんだ、雨宮先生は。
I get it now.
付き合いはずっと続いてるな。雨宮先生を音羽の美術教師に推薦したのも父上なんだよ。父上は音羽の理事とも知り合いらしいから。
Sounds like your father's real close to him.
というより、雨宮先生の才能を買ってると思う。
Oh, he was really that good.
え？
Nagi's eyes widened. Did I surprise her with what I said?
それもそうか。ユはそっちにまるで興味がないものな。本当に知らないんだ。
I'm ignorant. Enlighten me.
雨宮先生は並じゃないぞ。学生の自分に絵画だのデザインだのの賞を取りまくったらしい。それこそうちの父上より名が売れていてもおかしくないくらいだ。
I see.
ま、あの震災の後は一枚も描いてないらしいけど。
Not even one? Mr. Amamiya said he wanted to be a painter. He almost realized the dream, but chose to abandon it.
兄さんもあの震災で妹さんを亡くしてるんです。
That was his burden. What a fool.
何か言ったか？
No, nothing.
というか、僕は何の話をしてたんだっけ？
Maybe. What was the connection between this story and Nagi coming over to tell me it?
もういい。なんか話疲れた。帰る。
She gave up. The sooner she went home, the better. She said she was leaving, but she wasn't getting up. Nagi?
雨宮先生が。
Yeah, what about him?
君とゆこちゃんがデートしてたって言ってたんだが、それは本当なのか？いや、別に僕に言うことじゃないけど気になるだろ。仮にも僕らは友達なんだから。
Oh my god. Hey, slow down. I wasn't following her, even though my mind was alert.
ああ、悪かった。
She was definitely morose about my date with Yuko. It was just a shopping trip, no different than all the times you dragged me around the city. Besides, we went our separate ways after we saw Mr. Amamiya.
なんだ、そうだったのか。雨宮先生があまりに意味ありげな顔をしてたから。
Wow. He just couldn't keep his mouth shut. So cute! Yes, that was very cute. Why is it bugging you so much? It shouldn't matter to you at all.
君のことが嫌いになりそうだ。
Huh? She wasn't making any sense. After glaring at me for a moment, she stood up. Then she left the room without saying another word. What was that about? Nagi was about 3 times weirder than usual tonight. Well, she should return to normal by tomorrow morning. I lay down on the floor. Leaving Nagi's personal issues aside for a moment, I went over what she told me about Mr. Amamiya. It bothered me. He was a superb painter, but after the great disaster, he became an art teacher without any ambition. The loss of his sister and his painting drought were probably not unrelated. Indeed, the great disaster changed everyone's lives. When someone loses their life, they take a part of someone they were intimate with along with them. Perhaps that expression was true after all. But could that void be filled with something new? Sorry, was it even necessary? Yuko. Maybe I was expecting something from her. But what? Oh. Let's do a little bit more. I recall the scene from the past. Ottawa was being swallowed in flames. It became a shell of its former self. Most of what made the city unique would never come back, but Ottawa would survive. Seeing the remains slowly heal themselves reminded me of how much I loved this city.
お兄ちゃん、
This annoying girl, Yuko, kept following me whenever I went out to draw. I told you to stop calling me that. Only one person was allowed to call me by that name. I wouldn't allow anyone else to use it.
もう帰らないと先生に怒られるよ。
Then you go.
でも、
She tugged my hand. I tried to ignore her, but she held on tight. Let go of me.
帰ろうよ。
I'm telling you to let go. My senses stiffened at that moment. I was reminded of a slender arm as pitch black as charcoal, and the wristwatch it was clutching.
お兄ちゃん、
Nothing. I yanked my arm away from her. Yuko stared at my arm with an unhappy expression. I pretended not to see it and put my hands in my pockets.
お兄ちゃん、
Leave me alone, okay? I'll go back in a bit.
うん、
She nodded, but she didn't move from her spot. You wanted to say something? She nodded again.
私ね、
Yeah?
もうすぐお別れしなくちゃいけないの。
So this time, it was a dream of Yuko. I almost snickered. At the end of the day, my heart was still in the past. Memories don't fade, no matter how much time passes. I felt like a doll being manipulated by some unseen force. How stupid. How incredibly stupid. I entered the classroom and headed straight towards my desk.
お、日村、おはよ
Hey. I sat down.
う。なんかまたもや死神みたいな面だね。
Maybe I should send you to hell then.
俺は太く長く生きるつもりだから、それは勘弁だな。
The world suffered for every second he was on the planet.
おお、そうだ。
What?
素直じゃない日村くんにプレゼントがあるんだよ。
What in the world? I scanned the sheet that Shuichi gave me. The great violinist Shuichi Kuze Farewell Party Saga? Such was written on the center of the sheet in large lettering. The location and date were written underneath. I don't get it. And what was the saga bit about?
もしかして俺が留学するって忘れてませんか、日村くん。
Now that you mention it, he says it every
本
time.
気で忘れてただろお前。
With all the things that were happening lately, Shuichi's plans were the least of my problems. Right, anyway, this looks like your writing?
当たり前だろう。俺が書いたんだから。
Wait, you can't be organizing all this yourself. That's not like you.
いやいや、これには事情があってね。
Shuichi flashed a smile.
前に付き合った女の子たちが何人か俺んところに来たんだよ。
So they formed a foundation for all the victims. What?
ご冗談を。
It wasn't out of the question, though.
彼女たちがどうしても盛大にお別れパーティーをやりたいっていうもんで、俺も一枚噛ませてもらおうかと。
I think they're making a huge mistake.
まあ、騙されたと思って来てくれよ。
If I have time. The date was set for next week on the final day of exams. Maybe I should have a shift then.
ああ、そうだ。ゆうこちゃんにも来てもらおう。そうだそうだ、それがいい。
First period ended. Shuichi and I left the room. Yuko has better things to do with her time.
俺のお別れ会だって言えば何を置いても来てくれるさ。
But you've hardly even talked to her at all.
愛に時間は関係ないよ。
How much of an idiot was he?
まあ真面目な話。
You can be serious.
ゆうこちゃんには来てもらいたいんだよ。
You're that interested in her, huh?
俺の勘がさ、あの子は我が親友の恋人にふさわしいと言ってるんだよ。
Hey, keep it down, people we hear. Soulmate? Yeah, sure. Love affairs were all that Shuichi ever thought about.
ん？
What? Shuichi raised his voice once we arrived at 1B. I stopped walking. It was unusually quiet for a break.
何かあったのかな。
Oh man. This wasn't normal.
ちょっと見てこよう。
Shuichi darted into 1B without hesitation. He must have known something. I thought about following him inside.
日村、
Shuichi stuck his body halfway out the classroom door. He looked concerned.
どうやらちょっとまずそうだ。
Huh? What's going on?
ゆうこちゃんが。
Okay. Well, this seems to go into something deeper, so maybe I should just save it here and we will see what happened next time. Sorry to end on a cliffhanger. To just save here. There we go. Next time, straight into the depths. Yes, that's why I think it's best to leave it there and dive into it more next time. I think we made good progress tonight. Stretchy. Stretch is good. Alrighty. Oof. Time for sleepy time. I can't wait. My bed is calling to me. Alrighty, bit of water too. Man, there was quite a bunch of reading tonight. I feel like the other streams had a lot more monologue from the girls, which is voice actors, so I don't need to read. But tonight there was a high volume of text for me to do. So thank you. I shall do my best. And thanks for being around, guys. Always fun times with you around. Yeah, I hope you take care of yourselves. Have a good rest. Eat delicious food that makes you happy. Don't stick only to nuts. Hydrate. Take care of your own stuff. I hope you, if there's anything else left to solve, you will solve it, Clinton. You can't anymore? What? What's happening? Uh, mm, ah. Too much noise leads to constipation. Well, too much of anything is never a good idea, so be moderate. Yeah, yeah, that I feel like that is a good wish to send onto your lovely selves and onto the universe. Be moderate. Take care. Yeah, I didn't really get a mental image from that. It's all right. Right. I'll see you again Thursday with some more of Yuko's backstory. Can't wait. But also, yeah, things are not gonna get very happy from here on out. So just be warned that it has darker undertones than what we've seen so far. Yep. And if it ever gets too much to handle, that is oh good. You can just peace out. You don't even need to announce it. Just it's okay. Yeah. Night night for now. Take care. Rest well. Be good to your own selves, and I will see you again on Thursday.